1.
Looks like they still need to turn on the sound on their end.
Right now, how about now?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, thank you. So just to recapture here in person in Vernal, we have our board meeting today is Wednesday, May 18th. And our board members that we have present is myself, Corey Cram, our chair. To my right is Leisha Colthrop. We'll go in a different order this time. Joan Hammer, Claudia Jarrett, Brent Boswell, Lisa Mertz, glad to have you here with your first official meeting, is that right?
Yes.
And Natalie Randall. Online, we have Russ Edmund and Kevin Christensen. So we have our entire board present, is that correct? Yeah, so we appreciate everybody's attendance. Also in person here, we have our Deputy Director, Scott Strong, and Dave Harris, and staff as well. We have Megan from our regional office. She's hiding. And Melanie, we're glad to have Melanie Shepard here. Glad to have you here taking over from Amber, who's retired. And excited to have you here and wish Amber happy trails. Also, Devin from our public relations is working hard with lots of issues and taking phone calls, and he'll probably stepping out 2 or 3 times behind the meeting, taking care of us behind the scenes. We've got lots of people online. I'll try to catch everybody. We've got our director, Jeff Rasmussen. Also present, we have Lori and Wayne from our respective regional offices. I'm looking with my bad eyes clear across the room. There's Wayne waving at us. Hey, Wayne. And there's Lori waving. Also, we have Susan and Jane from the state office. And who else do we have? Is that everybody? Okay. Well, welcome. Could we do a really quick recap of what we did yesterday? Alicia, would you mind giving us a little recap and summary of our activities yesterday?
Yeah, so we were able to visit Starvation State Park. We had a great tour there with the park manager. He took us out on the boat and got to see really how big that park is. That's a huge body of water there, and then all their campgrounds that they have. And it's a great big facility. They tell us 11 seasonal employees that will start here when school gets out. They're mostly high school kids. Park manager, assistant manager, and then a ranger. They are booked. Their growth has been substantial over the last 6 years since they've had a renovation, which leads us to believe that all these state parks that are getting new renovations will also continue to just grow and grow and grow and be great for the state park system. After we visited Starvation, we were able to go to Red Creek State Park and look over the plans for the renovation there. That's going to be a great facility. I think it'll see the same growth that Starvation has had as well. And it's just a beautiful place. I hope that everyone had a good time there. And then we ran down to Steinecker and just did a tour of that park, a quick little tour of that park down to the boat ramp. They're able to get more water now, which is nice after their dam renovation, and the water's starting to fill up, and there was quite a few campers there, so it was wonderful. And then just had a dinner here in town and had a great time. So it was nice to reconnect and be together as a board. We haven't been able to do a tour for so many years, and so it was kind of nice to be able to be back together and have a tour. And it's just fun to see everybody's personalities and get them out of their comfort zone and be able to explore great parks.
Or into a comfort zone, right?
Yeah, into a comfort zone. That's right. Definitely definitely we're in a comfort zone, so.
Well, we appreciate you hosting us and Megan for your help and your staff. I think it was a really fun day yesterday and maybe a little bit more action this afternoon.
Yes, after the meeting today, anyone that's interested, we're gonna go over to the field house and look at that state park as well. So we'll be able to visit all 4 state parks here within our region. Yes.
Very good, thank you. At the end of our meeting, we'll talk a little bit about upcoming meetings and some other remote activities and tours and some things we can talk about and do there. So we'll do that. We have an agenda before us. Has everybody had an opportunity to review that? At this point, I accept a motion to accept that agenda. Unless there's any changes.
I'm in approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Claudia. I got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Brent, thank you. I don't think that we have meeting minutes to review from our February meeting. I think that may have gotten confused, our meeting notes or just kind of with Amber retiring. We'll catch that at our next meeting if that's okay with everybody. So let's move on to board reports. Natalie was up early and went for a ride and checking out our parks even this morning before our meeting. Would you mind giving us a little board report of parks you've seen in the past since our last meeting?
Yeah,
What your experience has been?
for sure. I would say, I'll be candid, a lot of my park experiences since our last meeting have been out of my area.
That's good. That's good.
So maybe that's good, but Palisades just last weekend, so it was great to go there and jump on some paddle boards, or not the paddle boards, trying to think of those boats.
The kick boats, the
Kick boat, paddle
boats.
boats, thanks. So jumped on that, and that was a lot of fun. This morning jumped up and it's awesome to see that Red Fleet, that BLM partnership that exists with state parks. There's a great trail system, a flow trail system that's relatively new, right, Alicia? That was just built. So on BLM land, but neighboring state parks. So really cool to see that. That's something, maybe I shouldn't surface here, but at Goosenecks, we've always wanted to see that partnership. And so kind of see that on the ground and how that interacts. In my region, Arch's timed entry has been live since April. So I know that there's been quite a bit of influx to Dead Horse Point, and a lot on Willow Springs Road, which is a back road entry to Arches that isn't being regulated by the Park Service right now. So excited for our new state park to have another area too that can help to navigate potentially some of that traffic.
Very good. Lisa, you've been new on board.
Yeah,
And exciting news, change in job position.
That's right.
Congratulations.
thank you very much.
Now with the U, tenure track position.
Yeah.
Exciting, proud of you.
So I had a chance to hang out with Chris Haramoto up at East Canyon State Park, and he was telling me about the things that they're doing up there, which you probably read about, but they're getting the new dome that he's really excited about and being able to host events up there, as well as the concessions that are going there. I'm excited. One of my students is going to be interning there. So it's a student whose dream is to become a park ranger. And so I was able to help facilitate that relationship over there as well. I was going to head out to Antelope Island, but I hear the bugs are out in full force. So I'm going out there in another month or so, something like that. And then I had a chance actually also to go down to Moab. And I was actually riding in the Klondike's Bluffs area, but it helped me kind of situate where Raptor State Park is going to be. And it made a lot of sense to me that that's going to be developed there, and I'm excited to see how that ends up coming about in the next year. So I wanted to go visit, but on the website it said, please no visitors. So I thought I would be respectful of that.
Brent, on to you.
Couple of state parks, Yuba, been out there a couple times and visit with Cheston and saw they're getting the new 4-wheeler storage to start doing rentals. And we're talking about and maybe also that decent on the inside to host some meetings and that in there. So our Association of Governments would like to start hosting meetings at Yuba, and I think they would at other state parks as well. I went to Oak Creek and did some fishing. We knocked the heck out of them.
Right.
And right as the ice was coming off, and there was a little place that it looked from the road like the ice was over that whole part of the lake down kind of by the dam. But when you get down there, it wasn't. And I should show you the pictures. We caught some nice fish, and it was like windy, but it was awesome. So we limited out 3-pound kind of average, and that's with a scale. So that was pretty cool. And then my friends went back without me and they got stunk, so that served them right. And then I also ended up at Palisade and we did some fishing there. And it was kind of too windy. But we had a good meeting with the park ranger and they're desperate for someone to run the snack shack there, the restaurant. And so I've even sent a few Duet people that way. But I know they're having some kind of meeting today that if you don't attend today, then you're out. But that's going to be a struggle, which is too bad because that was always a good place to eat, a destination sometime for the food. So those are the three that I had. I was at a job fair in Utah County and there was some folks there from state parks looking for employees. And so I had a good visit with them and they were from Jordanelle. And so I got to meet those guys. But I've been by Jordanelle. I've been by, what's the other one out there? They grained last year. Towards Colville.
Echo?
Yeah, Echo. I drove by both of those this weekend, but I didn't stop.
Fish weren't barking at you loud enough to stop.
I knew they wouldn't be at Echo because I think, wasn't that totally drained last year? It seemed like.
It wasn't drained, but it seemed like it was.
I don't know what the fish kill would have been on it, but I haven't been there yet.
So
So
send us pictures, yes, of all your board members, your 10 things, send them out to your boards and just Melanie will share them and share our experiences.
Okay.
Show us your fish.
that's all I have.
Oh, goodness. So I happen to have to be in Pleasant View for like 5 days for activities of family. So Willard Bay is right by Pleasant View. And so I trekked out there looking for this big white building that we had training in at some point in time. And I was so lost in that park. There are like 3 different campgrounds in there and massive, but I did go see the new pond. And so that little road and we saw the pond, there's only one little family there using it, but wow, what a facility. So that's going to be really, really nice and well used. And then I'm going to chance blasphemy here
Uh-oh.
because I know the whole mantra of state parks is more people having more fun in more state parks more often, but I know my age now. I'm not young and I like solitude and not busy. And I see all our parks just adding more and more campgrounds and people and trailers and campers. And so I went up to Hiram State Park and that's my new next love because
Give it 2 weeks. That's a busy one
Yeah.
too.
only has 32 campsites, only 10 of them have power. It's the strangest little park. You go in and this cute little seasonal Shawnee, she told me just to wander around. She told me you go across the street, and that's where their group camp is. So it's kind of not inside the park. And then you go out and you go up the street, like 6 blocks, 7 blocks, and then down through residential area. And then you go down this little road and that's the beach. It is the cutest little park. I just love it. But it's right in the middle of a residential area. So that's my new love because it's just quaint.
So
It's not
don't let word get
overrun.
out. Can you strike us for a minute?
I don't know, but I'm gonna push for some little park somewhere, not to have to be. Yeah, that you can just go and have just a kind of a quiet little family experience and not be overrun with people. So that's my blasphemy talk for today. So actually at Hiram, because this little Shawnee told the assistant ranger I was there, he came and found me and took me all around again and explained it all and what they want to do and how they want to improve the park. And he was so helpful. So yeah, there's a love for that little park from that assistant ranger. He's hoping to be the ranger when the new ranger retires. But, anyway, it was a great experience.
When were you at Hiram?
It was on Monday, the day after my son graduated from Utah State, grandson.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to think. The 9th.
We were at Hiram Saturday and it was a little busy.
Was that?
We love Hiram.
Do you want to see it just?
She's the tourism director, of course she does.
Yeah. I don't know where they can. They don't really have a lot of space they can. They just want to improve what they have, which would be nice. But yeah, it is. It's a cute little park. It's really nice. So enjoyed it. Have 2 little cabins. They rent it out. So yeah.
So I spend a lot of time at Willard Bay. But I'm trying to think of what building you would have.
It's the park shop.
Oh, okay,
Well,
okay.
does it go down? Is it collapsible?
Either that or you were there in the wintertime when they had the Santa Claus shop
Yeah.
set up.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's probably
which
what
is
it
a white
was.
building that
Yeah.
goes over top of a open pavilion.
Oh,
So in the
okay.
summer, it just looks like an open pavilion.
That's why I was driving. What is that
disguised.
silly white building? And I did go up to the administrative offices, and quite honestly, they need new ones.
Thank
That's
you.
It is deplorable. There's no office space. I mean, as big as that park is,
It's on the list.
that's good because they really do need some updated offices there. And nobody was there. It's just my observation, but for as big as that park is, they need something bigger for those that administer it.
Yeah, there's new plans for the entry road to go around kind of the outside of the pond that you saw.
Mhm.
And then out that way, there will be a loop with an office. The new entrance station would be there, so. But that's like phase 3 or 4 of what we've
Yeah,
been doing
it's
out
gonna
there.
be a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, cars get backed up on the freeway during the Christmas lights and during busy weekends during the summer. So this will give them a longer queue line, probably almost half a mile or so
Mm,
of space to pull off the freeway and get in line to get to the park.
Yeah. Busy park. There were several camping in there even on that Monday. However, on another note, they have a key geocache kind of nature trail head place, and it needs to be fixed. It was all damaged and the little panels were all scruffed up and.
Yeah, we talked to the park manager, James, about that as well. He's got some ideas to improve the path.
All right, well.
We're taking care of all your needs.
Anything else from you, Joan?
Just, Willard Bay, I'm excited for the new improvements, and I'm excited for a good solid year at the pond. I think that's part of the issue with the pond is it's really awkward now. To get to you can go to the pond, but to pay and go to the pond, you have to go in and then around and it doesn't work well, but they're busy already. Spent a little time at Hiram, went to a wedding reception in Hiram, and that was super charming. You would have liked that. It felt like somebody's big backyard actually. And Natalie and I actually had the opportunity to go to Sand Hollow for Ironman.
How did I forget that?
It was an incredible opportunity, and Jeff didn't tell us that we could have gone out on the boat in time, but well,
Next time.
so next time. But that was, what an amazing venue to showcase to the world. That was, and as the sun came up and, you've got, you've just literally people from all over the world and lots of really great visitors to our state and to our state park. And that was an amazing opportunity. So look forward to seeing what they have, what they do next. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna add to that, Representative Stenquist, who's on the Outdoor Adventure Commission, also was at that state park for that gun shoot off and was blown away at just the attendance and the park and the staff and everything. So great representation there. I know President Adams also swung by too. So there's some good legislative there.
Yeah, there's some talk, the Greater Zion team and their commissioners, there's some talk with trying to every 4 years or so get the international full Ironman back. So I don't know, we'll see how far that goes.
I think the race itself is a challenge that they like. I mean, it's a pretty tough one
Yeah.
and tough conditions, but I think they
It was
love it and comes
Yeah.
across well. They make it happen. It's
Mhm.
a good thing.
It was an amazing an amazing race, so.
And I guess for board members, if there's activities like that are happening, get in touch with your regional managers or with Dave, and I think there's opportunities to, to get up close and personally and, look for that or different things, or Dave, is that okay to say?
Definitely, yes, please do. Let us know. We'll try to keep you in the loop too.
Yeah.
What's going on?
All right, sorry, no, got an issue that I'm trying to take care of, but, I haven't been out exploring other than my own local parks since the last time we've been here, and we kind of showed, you guys all of that's going on. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed your time and excited for you to go to the field house. They've got some great things, planned for this summer. They partner with us on a big event, Dinosaur Days, here in a couple months, and then Red Fleet's gonna go into renovation, but we'll try to get some kind of an event going on there this summer, before they close down for their renovation. And yeah, good things are going. We talked about the archery shoot that happened at Steinecker a couple weekends ago. They kind of reworked their archery path there, and that's nice. Have a new assistant manager, and yeah, things are just going well. I hope in this next quarter before we meet again, I'll be able to get out and visit some other parks around the state. So.
Well, thank you. Russ, can we go to you? Go all the way out to Tooele.
Hi there. So I really don't have much to report. I did spend some time. Are you hearing me?
We can hear you.
Okay. My son graduated from SUU, so we were down in Sand Hollow the week before the big event. So it was still busy. Sand Hollow is a very busy place, and of course, in my world, it's awesome. I see all the off-road vehicles and all the people having fun, and I love to see them up there on the sand enjoying that park. So, other than that, I haven't been out, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Kevin?
Hi, yeah, so this past weekend, Palisade had their annual show. They've had that for about 10 years. It was great, it was almost full. It was a beautiful day. We invited Hooked on Utah to come and do a show there for the tournament. They highlighted the fishing. They got to talk to Bevan Ranger, do an interview with him. Highlighted the golf course. We got up and hit over the gorge. So that will this weekend on Antelope, if any of you are interested in that. We're trying to get some
publicity for the park. They're already looking for the summer. It should be a busy. The park's it's been doing an expansion there, and that's going to be.
Turns out this camera is able to hear him better. It looks like it's his reception, not ours.
So Kevin, I think everybody else is muted, so we're not having a problem with that, but Devin has suggesting you may turn off your camera, and you might, not that we don't like to see you.
You're skipping out quite a bit.
You're cutting in and out. Could you try to turn off your camera and see if we can hear you better? Sorry. That was Devin, that's not me.
So anyway, I'm a little concerned with the expansion below the dam there, that there's no power. And so in the hot months, we might have a lot of campers down there with the generators on all night long, and that might not be a very good experience for everybody. So I would encourage, if possible, if we could get some power to that, to the new campground. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And that did work better. We'd be glad to see your face again.
Hey, what size fish won the fishing derby?
I don't know that.
I'll text Bevan.
All right, thank you. Oh, and I guess I'll touch on some things. Here a while back, I stopped at Frontier Homestead and spent some time there looking at their displays. And one of my hobbies is blacksmithing, forging, knife making stuff. I've seen Forged in Fire on TV. That's not me, but I like that stuff. It's inspiring. But anyway, so they have a fair amount of blacksmithing tools and equipment, and I'm going to work with them to try to get their stuff up to speed to where it can be used for demonstrations. And in the fall, I plan on showing up there and doing some demonstration work, and also getting with some of their staff and teaching them how to do some basic skills, so that some staff there can play around and demonstrate. So that's one of the things I have in the works for there. At Frontier Homestead, they have exhibits that are on loan from the Smithsonian. You mentioned that? I mean, right in Cedar City, stuff from the Smithsonian. And it's relevant stuff. It's on water, it's on water conservation, water use, where water comes from. And then they have information highlighted with local information. So, you know, on the world scale, national scale, state-of-the-art exhibits, and then clear down with relevant and current stuff on local issues. And so it's just really neat to see one of our parks just that in touch with things and doing a great job. Johnny's doing a really good job of pulling things together, and exhibits look nice. And anyway, just neat to see. And she's got a lot of enthusiasm, and it's good things are happening there. I stopped in at This Is the Place State Park a few weeks ago. And gosh, if you haven't been there for a long time, you'll be blown away. It was just neat to see hundreds of school kids running around with tours, and just the hands-on demonstrations that they have, and all the pioneer homes and the new facilities, the new buildings, just classy. It's just a really nice combination of just honoring our pioneers and our Native Americans and those who came before us, and then making it real for people. And just a fun experience and something for everybody there. And Ellen's done just a great job. And anyway, it's all of our parks to be proud of. But it's kind of a unique one, right? With the way it's managed and the funding. But stop in there and you'll enjoy it. Be impressed. Good stuff. Last week, I tied in with Megan and Brody, went down to Utah Raptor State Park. Not a lot to see right now. About all you can see is a hole in the ground, and it's hard to see a hole in the ground, the new well. But we looked at that, and I saw the foundation from the old internment camp and the CC camp, which it was prior to that. Looked at the dinosaur quarry site, and then went out and played around a little bit on some of the trails there. Anyway, that's going to be a neat site, and it'll also tie in with some of the Archer stuff and maintain some things. Like it was just a few days ago, the camping fees were implemented, and so that'll be interesting. I guess we'll hear a little bit on how that went. But anyway, good things are happening there. I visited Dead Horse Point, and it's always just amazing, that location, and to see all the people enjoying that. It's just fun to walk around our parks and just see just the comments, and to talk to people, see where they're from and why they came there, and the experience they're having. You know, and you never run into anybody who's having a bad experience, because our parks are so incredible. And Claudia, you're talking about just the seasonals and the little gal, what was her name?
Shawnee.
You know, there's a lot of neat Shawnees out there, and I think that we have a lot of neat seasonals that, in a lot of cases, our seasonals are people that our attendees are contacting, right? I mean, that's their experience, is it's going through the gate and seeing that and that experience, and that kind of sets the stage for you know, what their experience is in our parks. And I think that we have good seasonals that are trying hard, and anyway, appreciate the hiring that we're doing, and that makes a big difference. I went to Goblin Valley, and I think it's just so cool. It was a super windy day to drop down the valley. It's just nice, and there were a few people around, but that valley is just so incredible, and you don't even feel the other people there. It's just such a unique geological place, and I just love Galaxy Quest, that silly little Tim Allen movie that was filmed there. If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. Galaxy Quest. It's just stupid humor, but there's a really neat scene that was filmed there, and anyway, it's just neat to be able to get out in our parks and just be up close and personal, and not have a hands-off experience, and just a special time here. And local, Park, Sand Hollow, talked about the Ironman. Just what an incredible experience to bring the world to Sand Hollow. And a rare experience to not have a lot of wind from that water. Still a lot of swimmers who struggle, but just a neat experience. And our park people, even though we had Trevor was our acting park manager, and he had experience there. We have a lot of people who know how to make things happen, and a lot of cooperation with our local municipalities and tourism. And anyway, just neat stuff. We're also working on a campground over on the east side, and it's well underway and come along well. Quail Creek has some big plans. Things are costing a lot, so things are slowing down a little bit with some of our actions. Gunlock has plans. I think it just got put off a little bit for a grand opening for its campground over there. So that'll be 2 weeks. Reading your handout how I remember it was like 3 or 4 years ago, we had somebody that came to our board meeting, made a presentation on e-bikes. Remember that, Claudia? It was a long time ago. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's, I don't know where that's going. That's just gonna be a little fad. It's gonna come and go, but they're here to stay. And I think, and that's having a big impact on visitation in Snow Canyon. And I look at our park managers and I appreciate their dedication, ability to kind of roll with changing times and be adaptable. And they have a big responsibility and stewardship to deal with those changes and figure out how to best manage our parks. And, more people in more parks having more fun more often, but still have a good experience for people and to kind of have a vision for where all these parks are going. But I love our managers, our staff, our rangers, our seasonals. It's just a pleasure to be part of this. Gosh, we're going a little bit long, but I appreciate hearing from our board, hearing our experiences, and encourage people to get out and have fun. My personal goal is to hit every park in the state in the next 4 years, and so I encourage everybody to do what you can and see what you can do. So we are a little bit behind. Let's look at our division report. Are we gonna start with Scott? Is that where we're gonna be?
Sure, that would be fine. First off, I just want to thank the board, all of you, for being here, taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us. And I have to say, I think my favorite part about being with the board is the activity before, the time that we get to reconnect at dinner and then to visit our parks, as well as to see you interact with our staff. We really do have fabulous people that we work with, dedicated, and that doesn't just include our full-time staff, but also our seasonal staff. So that was neat to hear about. And a special thanks to Leisha for making all of this happen. For dinner last night, that was fabulous and very nice of you, as well as to have this facility. What a great.
We do need to recognize the swag that we received.
Yes, thank you.
Moving off the table so that it wouldn't impede the vision, but yes, nice swag, thank you. And Vernal is a beautiful place.
And Jeff may or may not get his.
It may not have, especially.
Yeah, it might be a little light.
There's some perishables that may perish.
Yeah, sugar, so I saw some sugar.
Yeah, we're going to take care of that.
We're gonna have 2 copies of the book.
So thanks for that. I love listening to your reports as far as the parks that you visit and what you've done there. And I just wanted to offer a special thanks for those who helped at Ironman. That was a big event, and a really neat thing, and it really does take a community to pull it off. And thanks for your help. And I love the fact that you not only visit the parks, but you're willing to participate and help with the parks too. That engagement is so important and appreciated. I do have to, Claudia, I have to go back a little bit and say that we have.
So was the Scott and Claudia show.
And I promise I'll get through this as fast as I can. We have 46 fabulous parks, and maybe you and I can sit down and I'll let you know where you can go for those pristine experiences, because you can find those experiences in almost every park. And I'm really
East Canyon was one. That's one of my favorites. Now it's
East
Hiram.
Canyon, Jordan,
Palisade, you're
Deer
ruining
Creek.
because you're expanding it all over the place, but it used to be a favorite.
But
But
we
I would
also-
like to sit
by
down with you and hear
expanding,
about them.
We know that people love to come to the park, and we don't want them to be on top of each other, so we want to diversify.
I know.
Yeah, and so disperse
Okay.
people. So we don't want to diminish the park experience, but one of those places when I think about being out in nature is Wasatch Mountain State Park. We have an entire mountain. And I guarantee you, you're gonna find a spot on that mountain that's just yours and no one will bother.
We must get together.
Goblin Valley is getting another 6,000 acres, right?
It is, yeah.
And that's packed. Did you at Wild Horse Canyon? I mean, there's so
yeah.
much around.
You gotta get off the main drag. You gotta just get off the main road.
I was at Goblin Valley on Thursday, and I was so surprised at how many times we found places in the park. Like Corey was trying to be gentle about it. I'm just gonna go right there. At Goblin Valley, there's so many places where, you know, the parking lot's full, but we're out in the Hoodoos, and it felt like we were by ourselves. So you can find those places, and again, you and I will connect.
I've been to Goblin Valley.
If that's your experience, then we really need to talk because you haven't been there. You're doing something wrong.
Parking, there weren't restrooms. Okay, we won.
So back to the report, and thank you for that. I do appreciate the banter that we had yesterday on the boat.
I know, I'm sorry about the phone case.
No,
Sorry about the phone case.
I love my, and it is mine. Anyway, jumping into the report, I just wanted to give you an update on a few of the things that I've been working on over the last few months. I help manage the golf courses at Wasatch and Soldier Hollow. The staff there report directly to me, and we've been making some changes, and some of those changes were received well in the community. And what we've done with that to, again, empower and encourage the community is to create an advisory panel. And it's simply an advisory panel. They don't make decisions. It's more about collecting input, ideas from people who come to the courses and play and live in the community and interact in the community. So we created this advisory board, and in the beginning, I'll be honest, it was combative. There was a lot of anger and some discontent, but we had our first meeting last week, and I think every one of the participants was extremely thankful and grateful for moving forward. In fact, a few times, several of the members made comments where they were thanking me for some of the things that we've done up there, and I was waiting for a but. You know, it's something for them to be negative about, and they never did that. They were very positive, and I think moving forward, this is going to be a good thing. And we're going to reach out to them in several ways for help in getting more people to the golf courses, growing our junior programs, as well as looking for volunteers and some fundraising too. So anyway, you'll hear more about the advisory board as we move forward, but just wanted to give you an update there. And then onto the financials, very briefly, I wanted to tell you what's going on so far. You all know that last year was a barren year. Last year was just a year we've never, ever seen before. And what I did is I compared this year to last year at the same point. And what we're seeing is that in each of the regions, we're down. So in the North region, we're down 33% from last year. In the Eastern region, we're down 18%. And in the Southwest region, we're down 10%. But you kind of have to look at that last year as an anomaly. So what I did is to kind of smooth that and look at the actual trend, I went back to look at FY20, so fiscal year 20. And when you compare this year to FY20, which again, that trajectory was still moving up, and it has for the last 10 years. So there's still a lot of growth in that year. But when you compare this year to FY20, the North region is up 33%. The Eastern region is up 127%. And the Southwest region, is up 183%. And when you, again, compare the division totals to those 2 years, when we look at last year, we're down 23%, but comparing this year to fiscal year 20, we're up 87%. So really, when you look at what the normalized growth is, we're still growing, and we're growing at a rapid pace. And I think it's fabulous to see people coming to our state parks to see all the excitement. And, you know, Natalie and I were talking about just the benefits of being outdoors on our mental health, on our just overall well-being. And it's so neat to have worked on these programs where it's, you know, every child outdoors or, you know, get outdoors and that sort of thing. And yet the pandemic is something that spurred so much of this. And we're continuing to see that trend. And with that, you know, Claudia and I were joking, but we're also expanding the number of parks that we have to host these folks and have experience that is unique to them and something that they want to expect. So anyway, that's really neat. A couple more things that I'm working on. One is that we're spending quite a bit of time with the governor's office and the legislative fiscal analyst's office to help them engage them as far as what we want to accomplish in the upcoming session. Most people think that, oh, the session's going to be, you know, it's in January and that's forever away. Yeah, it's today. And as soon as the session ends, it really begins the next day. So we're working with both the governor's office and the LFA to express our need and the urgency to make these changes. Some of the things that we focus on are staff housing. We all know about the real estate crisis that's going on, and housing is so difficult to find throughout Utah, affordable housing. So we want to build and bring more housing to our state parks, both for full-time staff as well as seasonal staff. You know, when you look at some of our locations, Goblin Valley being one, it's really hard to get people to come and work there for 4 months and expect them to travel back and forth. And that's not the only place. Anyway, I think those are just some benefits, as well as we're working on pay. Everybody knows, I think of Megan talking about McDonald's and Moab paying $19 an hour. And we don't want to compete with Moab. We want to take the cream of the crop. And that means that we're gonna have to pay our folks more, both our seasonal staff as well as our full-time staff.
Sorry, can I ask you a question? So we heard you talk about, it's on the list. We talk about campground improvements or trails or this and here, and we know you have a list. When you meet with the governor's office and legislative fiscal analysis, do you share that list to show these are our needs? We've got this, this, and this, and.
Yeah, in fact, that's the whole purpose of the meetings, is to share that list. And we can share those lists with you as well. Because again, it's funny, we're in the middle of it, so it's just secondhand to us, but we get it. Not all of you know about those lists, and we can do a better job of sharing that. But really, the importance of this is that in order for our requests, and they're from the restricted account, which is essentially our bank account, in order for those to get approved, they have to go through the governor's office, and then from the governor's office will make a recommendation, and that goes to the legislature, and from there, they make the final decision. But last year, with the administration change, some personalities change, and for whatever reason, it was the first time in 10 years that the governor's office didn't approve all of our requests, and that's fine. I think it has to do a lot of with educating them, bringing them into parks, and getting them to see what Willard Bay looks like on any weekend in the summer, really weekday. And because I can talk, you know, on Blue and say, oh, the line's backed up to the freeway, and at Sand Hollow, it's backed up to the highway. But until you see that and experience that, you really don't get it. And the things that we're working with and requesting are to speed up that process and help with that process. So, yeah, that's what those lists are. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was Parks Pass. I know this is one of my favorite projects to work on because it has so many aspects to it that benefit the customer as well as our staff. But we're this week we're sending out scanners and mobile printers to many of our parks, and we're moving that forward. And these scanners will allow, again, somebody who's in a long line like at Sand Hollow State Park to buy their day's pass before they get to the booth, so that when they get to the booth, the staff member just scans their receipt and let them in. So it speeds up the process immensely, as well as we can communicate better with our visitor that way too. It allows us to tell them, you know, if there's an issue or a problem. Really, it's about sharing information. And a lot of times we talk about things, well, Dylan talked about a lot of things yesterday with experiences that he had or has in interactions with our visitors who sometimes don't understand the rules. I don't think they necessarily want to break the rules, but Parks Pass again is going to allow us to communicate better with our visitor. Not only to let them know what they should and shouldn't be doing, but to let them know what's available in the park for them to do in their surrounding areas. So as that moves forward, I'll share more information with you too. And right now it's a web-based app, which is, that sort of means that you can't just download it from the Apple Store or Android store, but we're working on that piece. That's coming up. And once that's completed, I'll send that to you so you can download that on your phones.
One suggestion for that, I actually went looking for it and I found it just a little hard to find. So maybe it needs to be somewhere more prominent when you click on state parks, that it's there. So you're not trying to search through, is it a resource? Is it a service? Is it a, where is it? So
I think that's great feedback, that we can make it more prominent on the website.
I think that would be helpful.
As well as we're hoping every entrance sign that we have a QR code, and you click on that and it takes you to the app. So we're hoping that people will adopt it through that process as well. So they'll look on the web as well as when they're at the park. That's good.
Another comment from you.
Just a question, not to put you on the spot about this, but you mentioned legislative activity. Have you heard of anything with the Snyder bill and that 36 million investment into outdoor recreation and what that will look like for state parks?
Do you have more specifics? I'm not sure that.
There's just
And Jeff or Dave might know. Too,
maybe there's that one bill that came out of this past session that Representative Snyder passed, and it had an earmark for outdoor recreation investments back into the state around 36 million.
Yeah.
And I know part of that was intended for state parks as well.
Yeah, so they actually created a new account and they're funneling a percent, it's a fraction of a percent of sales tax into this account. And it goes to the office, well, not the office, but the Division of Outdoor Recreation. They get, I want to say like $5 million. And then State Parks also gets a piece of that money. And this year we're using that at Antelope Island State Park for the visitor center. And then UDOT also gets $16 million from that to invest in infrastructure roads into state parks and recreation areas. So yeah, and this year when they passed it, they created the account and it was one-time money. But in talking to the Legislative Fiscal Analyst's Office, the intent is that it will be ongoing money. So this session, it'll be a lot of fun to work with that bill and get that money reinvested in the state parks.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, great question.
I have a question for you, and maybe it's more for Jeff, but I received an email several months ago about a woman who came and visited all our parks. She was just here for a week. Her name was Annie Ward. Do you remember, Jeff? And she was wondering about the possibility of a week pass because she wanted to visit as much as she could. She was only in the state for a week. She was doing the Mighty Five, but she also was visiting as many parks as she could kind of in her area. But she was a little frustrated having to do the daily pass every time she went in, and she was only going to be here for that long. She didn't want an annual. So she just wondered if there was a possibility of a weekly pass. And I don't know if that ever raised anywhere or.
I'll let Jeff chime in because he's well aware of this too, but I want to say with Parks Pass, she could have paid all of her fees in one swoop, and it would have simplified the process for her, and we need to get that word out. And then Jeff, I'm sure he wants to address it, but
okay.
We've looked at different pass options.
Well, there was the local pass too that I think Leisha always brought up too, if there was going to be a local. And then will that be on Park Pass, or does that have to be done with the local ranger? Or just
right now, we don't have the annual pass or any park-specific passes on Parks Pass, but that's one piece that we're working on. Okay. Another piece that we're working on.
Is the pause for me to chime in? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine. Thank you, Director. Please join us.
Good to see you all, though I would much rather see you in person. I have to say I've got a little motion sick from the owl bouncing around, so I had to figure out how to unpin that so it's not so big on my screen. Yeah, Claudia, I do remember that conversation. I think Scott's idea is great with the pass. I believe what we had intended to do with follow-up on that is to talk about that at our next core leadership meeting, where we get together with the region managers and talk about how we might be able to make that. I think it's a good idea, and in between passes and the annual pass option. So we haven't rolled anything out yet, but we'll talk about it. I think we're meeting next month. We'll talk about it with our region managers and come up with something.
Thank you.
Anything else from you, Scott?
No. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else about operations?
You bet.
Did you get
Hey,
that
thank you for
email?
the opportunity. and
You're welcome.
Good seeing you all again, and good to hear about the parks that you visited and our staff that you've met and talked to. And that's one of the greatest things about state parks is we have awesome staff. I really appreciate every one of them, and especially the core that I work with, Jeff and Scott, and the three region managers who are here today. And thanks, Lori and Megan and Wayne for being here. Appreciate that. They're awesome. They've got their pulse on all the parks, and they do an awesome job of keeping them all going. Just kind of a brief overview. I think Jeff's going to talk more about our construction projects, but right now that's a high impact on a lot of our parks. They're trying to figure out, like Red Fleet, how long can we stay open before it closes, and like Echo, when can we open? And there's all these things going on in the background while our staff are hosting the public that are already coming to our parks. I'd say some of our parks are still preparing for the busy season. Others, like Sand Hollow, Dead Horse Point, and all those that are in the middle of one of their two separate busy seasons. So there's quite a variety of things going on, depending on what part of the state you're on. We've had a very windy spring, especially in a lot of areas down south, and that's brought on incidents. But the people still keep coming. I guess sit in the tent and play cards or something, but they're still coming to the parks in droves. We've had a number of major incidents. Just one last night. I just laid down and my phone went off and on a text, and it was Sand Hollow's guy pulled a gun on a woman and held it to her head. So our rangers, the local sheriff's department, safely took care of that situation. So we're glad everybody's okay on that. They were from Nevada, so charge them extra, right, Scott?
Yes.
Let's see, and then of course the one you're all familiar with, we saw been on the news the last couple of days, and Devin's dealt very well with that, with everybody from all over the world.
Yeah.
About the 13-year-old that died in a sand tunnel collapse at Coral King. Somebody mentioned e-bikes. We've had e-bike crashes, probably 3 or 4 of them, and hats off to a lot of folks are in their 70s and 80s that are out there e-biking, but hopefully they don't crash. We've had several repelling incidents around the state. We've had swamp boats, people treated with hypothermia. So all that kind of stuff that always happens is still going on, and our awesome staff are out there dealing with all these difficult situations. Somebody mentioned it, but we're starting to charge camping fees at Utah Raptor, and Lost Creek is right behind. I think within the next week or two, they're going to be starting to charge fees up there. And you already mentioned the Iron Man, that Snow Canyon was also involved in that. The Sand Hollow gets most of the credit, but Sand Hollow, I think, I can't remember if it's the runners or bikers, but they go through there. I guess the wind really severely hampered their efforts there in the park, with a lot of folks dropping out during that stretch. But hats off to everybody down there, and we had folks from rangers from other parts of the state that went down to help with those events too. Since our last board meeting in February, just some of our staffing issues. We've 7 of our law enforcement positions moved over to Claudia's favorite other division, the Division of Recreation, or Outdoor Recreation. And some of those positions were vacant and some have moved around. So we have lost some folks from our parks also into these 7 positions that went to recreation. We lost our very capable assistant manager, Chase Peel at Jordanelle. We lost Brian Curda, who was the manager at Huntington Mill Site, Schofield, and we lost Travis Hancock, who was our assistant manager at East Canyon. Lisa might know him as well. Works with Chris Haramoto. So we're working on filling those positions. Right now we have 12 vacancies, 5 are law enforcement and 7 aren't. So we hold in that 12 pattern, it seems like. But on the flip side, we've hired so many new people, we're now right at 40% of our entire staff are less than 5 years. So we have a very, very new staff. But we're getting some great folks and they're fitting in well and they're starting out with taking care of all the things that we have to take care of, so.
You know, as a side note to that, can I just interject? When we were at Starvation, I got there early. And the little girl at the booth didn't know where to send me, so she just said, go down by the office. Nobody was there, so I started running around and found Dylan. Is that his name, Dylan? And he was weed eating the parking lot. And I'm going, oh my gosh, let me get on the boat. And he tells us about how he's got to go out and rescue and arrest people. And I'm going, wow, does that say something about your park managers and the enforcement they have there? He was weed eating one of the parking areas. I'm going, wow. Anyway, that's a side note.
So a quick thought I had, I saw in the news they're putting out there that the state is hiring 5 new game wardens. They're open positions right now. That wasn't on the news. The Eastern City Police Department has shared it. Do we pay comparable to the state game wardens, or are we gonna expect to maybe lose staff towards that?
We have a different niche, so some people would do either or, but most people, they want to be a park ranger, they want to be a park ranger if they want to do the other. But we go back and forth. We'll get ahead of them on our starting pay, then they'll leapfrog us and they'll get ahead. But we're pretty close on our starting pay. And we have open ranger recruitment as well right now for up to 10 new park rangers. So
the other interesting thing, and I think this is just something that we know so well, we don't talk about it as much, but the conservation officers that work for wildlife resources, they only have a law enforcement chain of command and promotion series. In state parks, we have lots of promotional opportunities for people to grow into additional positions. So not only are we competitive with pay, but we have more advanced opportunities for us.
Good.
You know, the other thing that took me back when I was reading through the packet was the inability to hire seasonals. And you know, that's not just state parks. It was to our city council meeting, and it's been in our local paper how our cities can't get seasonals to help with their city parks and our, you know, our recreation parks and whatever. So I don't know, there's some kind of a trend about nobody wants to work.
They're working.
Yeah.
Did you have a 1.4 unemployment rate? Lowest in the state, which is probably one of the lowest in the country.
They say state average is 2%, 2% or something for the whole state. But I've got a section on seasonal hiring too. And I think Scott mentioned that I was looking at my notes preparing, but did you mention the new staffing and the money we got from the legislature?
No, I briefly mentioned that we didn't get as much as we requested. But.
Okay. Well, we intended on hiring 10 to 15 new positions, starting July 1st with the legislative money that we'd asked for. We got about a third of that money, so we are hiring 5 new positions, and our focus on those was get a second person at the park, so only have 1 person. Because it's very hard to manage the state park with only 1 full-time employee. So Gunlock, Otter Creek, and Escalante will all get second employees. Escalante and Otter Creek will be buildings and ground supervisors, maintenance employees, and then Gunlock will have a law enforcement ranger. And then increasing the maintenance staff at Quail Creek and what was the other one? My notes here. Quail Creek and Coral Canyon will also receive maintenance folks. So that's where those 5 positions will go. We've had a lot of new hires. Some are promotions, some are new hires, but I'll go down the list real quick, and I'm sure I forgot a few. But Jason Both is our new park manager at Sand Hollow, just barely started.
Yeah, where did he come from? Was he already in the park system?
From Washington State Park.
Okay, because I know that was like last meeting we discussed, like, that was a tough position to fill, and who was gonna take it?
Yeah, he was,
from Washington State Parks, huh? Okay.
They have small regions up in Washington State. He was almost like a region manager up there. He supervised a core of maybe 4 or 5 smaller parks.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
he has like 20 years of experience, right?
Yeah, he was like 17 or 20 years. So he's
That's really good. Good.
Yeah, he was also a law enforcement officer up there,
I'm
so
glad you
very
guys-
familiar.
Yeah, I could find somebody, I know that was
We just started on Monday.
good.
Very capable person. So we're excited about that. Catherine Ross is our new curator at Frontier Homestead, so she started recently. Drew Patterson is our new assistant region manager in the North region. We have a new buildings and grounds supervisor at Palisade. His name's Brian Jensen. Sierra Schaefer was a ranger at Deer Creek, and she moved up to the manager at Jordanelle. This can be quite a challenge. That's one of our biggest parts. Assistant manager. Can I say manager?
Yes,
Okay. She's the assistant manager. Still, that's a big job at Jordanelle. Valerie Millette, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Millette. She's the new law enforcement ranger at Dead Horse Point, and also the duties of the gift shop manager. Dalen Johnson's our new mechanic at the golf course at Palisade. Brandon Glines is a new park ranger at Deer Creek, and we actually stole somebody from the highway patrol. So you probably hear that other agencies are stealing from us. Well, we steal people too, so we're happy to have him on board. He's doing an awesome job. Colin Kuhn is a new ranger at Gunlock. Colby Curtis is our new buildings and grounds supervisor at Coral Tank. Preston Wood is a new ranger at Jordanelle, and Melanie Shepard is our new administrative assistant. So
Wasn't there somebody the third that was at Red Fleet?
Yeah, but he's been there for a little bit. I mean.
Who's that? I think he was on at our last board meeting, right that time.
Yeah.
But
Missed that, the third, I guess.
but as you travel to the parks, say hi to those folks and welcome them to the division. So and then just a little bit on hiring season. Seasonal hiring season. It's been quite a challenge, and we really encourage our parks to look at what they offer and pay more where they can. And most parks have significantly raised the pay to compete, and I think they're catching up and starting to. I just heard Yuba the other day; they finally got their full staff on. But we had to our ranger aide, which is our typical person you would meet when you go into the park. Their pay topped out at $15 an hour. Then our lead ranger aide, those that have a little more responsibility, they topped out at $16 an hour. If you're not in the government in some other capacity, you can't just pay somebody what they're worth or what you want to pay them. There's a pay range, and you have to stay within that range. And some arbitrary legislative process or whatever sets what that range is. So we've made really good progress. Right now, there's a request to Human Resources, DHRM, to have those pay ranges raised to $20 for our regular ranger aide and $24 for our lead aide. So that will really help us out. And that should happen within the next week or two that gets approved. So we're optimistic there. Just on the operations side, other things that are going on, we just completed our annual park cycle. Thanks to Wayne, Megan, and Lori, they arranged for all their parks. So Jeff Scott and I travel and meet with each park for an hour or half an hour out, depending on the size of the park each year. And the region managers set that up and bring the parks in. And it's really good to hear parks goals and objectives and how they're meeting their goals and what they need, and get a chance to meet with each park manager and discuss those things. So thanks to everybody that helped with that. Other things that are going on, Lori's still heading up our statewide sign project. As you've traveled around, you've probably seen the new monument signs. And sometimes you see the monument, but not the sign in the middle. That's been the challenge, the sign in the middle. There's been some supply chain kind of problems with our contract with the person that makes those things. So we're getting caught up on that, but there's still some issues. So we might be getting some banners to fill in that gap until we can get the sign completed. I just saw an email from Lori. There's like our next batch of signs is going out. So hopefully in the next year or two, we can have all the signs done. And Wayne and Megan are working together on Statewide Managers Academy. It'll be a virtual academy. This will really help out our newer and our prospective park managers. And the LE program, I announced at our last board meeting that we have a new LE chief, and that's Eric Stuckey. He's doing an awesome job. He's been around for 25 years plus, and he's been our legislative liaison, so he's well connected all over. He's just an awesome guy. He's doing a great job. Let's see. That's where I'll leave that. Just catch up some time, and I think last region meeting, or last board meeting, I talked about we did van tours with new rangers or new park employees, and then a separate one with managers. We're looking at doing that again this fall and concentrating on the north region and trying to get up here before the park shut down, you know, and start closing off their facilities so that others can get input on that. So anyway, we're in the basic throes of getting that put together for this fall, maybe September, October-ish. And that is my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Dave? All right, Jeff, our director, can we give you time? Whatever you'd like to tell us. We're glad to have you here with us.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. And let me know if I start cutting out, I can turn my camera off. Our internet coverage here at the DNR isn't great. Can you hear me okay then?
So far, we're doing well.
Okay.
He's gonna.
You want to go ahead? Scott says he would like you to turn off your.
That's a.
Scott says it would probably be best if you go ahead and turn off your video.
I'm betting he's right, and I'm more than happy to turn off my camera. So thanks for the invitation. So sorry I missed you all yesterday and today. I guess all I can tell you is if you have to get hand surgery on both hands, you might want to reconsider not doing both at the same time. My wife went through hand surgery last Friday, and it's definitely been more of an impact than she had anticipated. I was hoping that she'd be good enough that I could leave her on her own, but just doing basic things like opening the fridge, pouring a cup of coffee, or just anything you can imagine. It's difficult to do that, so I had to stay back and help her out. But I do appreciate the ability to join virtually and our folks that are helping out with technology. So to make it happen, I appreciate it. And I just got a text. I want to make sure that, okay, it's not. Anyway, I thought I would start out with legislative stuff. For me, it seems like it's been at least a year since the session left or finished. It's been so stinking busy, but then I look at the calendar and it's really only been a couple months. And I realized that we were kind of mid-session last time we talked. So I am getting a little bit of feedback on my end. So I hope you're doing all right on your end. Funding. This session was another great session for funding for state parks. We ended up, oh boy, okay. I'm sorry. I keep thinking I'm freezing up. I'm paranoid because we've struggled with technology so much. Had another great year with funding. Ended up getting close to $100 million in funding to go towards state park expansion and improvement projects, which, like we had said last year, is just unheard of. And we're so happy to see it and so happy to have the support from the legislature and trust to be able to put that to good use. I thought I'd break it down into general fund and restricted fund money that we got. The marina, Bear Lake Marina expansion was funded. That's a project that's been pitched to the legislature for at least the last 15, 20 years. $60 million to basically double the size of the marina. That expansion will go on the south side of the marina. It's really the best place to be able to expand, the most cost-effective place, if you can call it that, at $60 million. But it'll make a major impact on the number of people that we're able to host at Bear Lake State Park, as well as really help address the safety issues that come when storms blow in and there's nowhere to go and there's a limited amount of space to get people off the lake when it gets crazy. So we're super excited about that one. Natalie had mentioned House Bill 409, I believe it was, with Representative Snyder that did earmark $15 million this year to state parks. So as Scott said, 12 of that is going to the visitor center expansion project at Antelope Island State Park. They're calling that a learning center, and there's going to be a a lot of focus on learning for kids and adults as well about the importance of the Great Salt Lake and Antelope Island. And we had kind of a new development that happened after the session. Turns out the Larry H. Miller Group is interested in contributing towards that project to add an IMAX theater type opportunity. We're still working out the details, but there's going to be an addition put on that addition, if that makes sense, to build a theater to show a film that was also funded this last session to tell the story about the importance of the Great Salt Lake and Antelope Island. So that expansion is really going to turn into something super cool. We're excited about it. The remaining 3 million out of that 15 that we got from House Bill 409, we're going to put into more expansion and improvement work, likely at Utah Lake this time, to do some work there. So like Scott said, it was only funded this year, but sounds like the intention is for that to be an ongoing fund to invest in expansion and improvement of our state parks. And the beauty of that funding is it comes from sales tax money. There wasn't a sales tax increase, just diverting some of that money for recreation because the legislature believes in the importance of recreation. So that's going to be huge for us. And also, I think Scott had mentioned the 16 million that UDOT also gets from that sales tax money to go towards recreation access projects off of highways. And we have a lot of projects, areas that need improvement. Corey, I think about Snow Canyon down there and trying to get to some of those east side entrances to Snow Canyon and how dangerous it is crossing that highway. So projects like that, that money will be put to good use. Another 12 to 14 million went to Soldier Hollow to be invested in the Olympic venue that we have there through the Utah Olympic Legacy Foundation. They'll be building a new competition building and other inside improvements. So we're excited about that. And then on the restricted fund side, we have $12 million that we had asked for out of our own money to put towards an improvement project at Deer Creek State Park at the island. There's an opportunity there where UDOT is moving the highway away from the reservoir as a part of their highway improvement project. That's going to be huge for our state park there because it's going to open up a lot more land for us to develop into campgrounds and parking areas and lake access. And just a huge opportunity. We're hoping that because it's a Bureau of Reclamation park, that they'll come up with the other half of what we're going to need to do that. But regardless, it's a great project and we're happy to get started on it. And then the other money that we had asked for and received from our restricted account is going towards hiring more staff, just addressing the rising costs that everybody's facing, getting more vehicles that we need with that additional staff, and buy more housing, seasonal and full-time housing. Just a quick update on the projects that were funded last session and some of our restricted account projects. There's so much behind the scenes work to do in permitting and clearances and design and engineering that's kind of frustrating because no one sees all that work happening. Well, we're finally to a point with most every one of these projects where they're either bid out or close to being bid out, and many are underway now. And just a quick review of the ones that are underway. North Eden, the furthest north lake access at Bear Lake State Park. We finished up the beach improvement project up there and the expanded parking, and have a new campground that will be opening up this fall there. Deer Creek State Park, the campground there from last year's funding is going great and it's a campground expansion project. I think it adds around 30 new full hookup campsites. That'll be completed this fall. I think Corey mentioned the campground at Sand Hollow. That one is also started and expected to be completed this year. We have a day use area and improved beach access at Rockport State Park that's going to be completed fall of this year. And then our new state park at Echo, that project's really been quite slow, but there's been a lot of work to it, and we anticipate that that one's going to be completed this fall as well. That will dramatically increase the amount of parking that we have at Echo State Park. It improves the boat ramp access, and we'll end up with a cabin village on that north end of the lake. We plan a whole bunch of ribbon cuttings to kick off these new opportunities that are state parks, and we'll make sure to invite you all to those. The next one will be at Gunlock, which is expected to be completed. The campground at Gunlock expected to be completed later this month, and we're planning to host a celebration in mid-June. So look forward to that one. Are you still hearing me okay? Okay, awesome. And the feedback's gone, so that's great as well. Just real quick, some of the bills that passed that had direct impact on our agency. We tracked, just like every session, dozens and dozens and dozens of bills, but some of the ones that had a greater impact, the State Monuments Act was revised. It was House Bill 27 by Representative Elison. Basically, the changes to that bill streamlined the process to create state monuments, eliminated a lot of the duplicate work, and also eliminated the ability for a county to go straight to the legislature with a state monument proposal without first running that through state parks. And the reason for that was we were getting ideas that weren't fully vetted, that really weren't ready for the legislature for various reasons. And the intention of that is to make sure that we check all the boxes and make sure that whatever the proposal is, it actually is ready for consideration from the legislature. So we're excited about that one. Representative Schultz ran a bill, House Bill 155, to modify our Honor Pass that offers free day use for veterans with disabilities. Basically, what that change did was expand that opportunity to all veterans with disabilities. So previously, it was only for veterans with a 50% disability rating or greater. Now, veterans with any disability rating from 0 to 100 will qualify for that pass. It's exciting to be able to honor our veterans and offer this opportunity. And I'll say from a state parks perspective, equally exciting that the legislature stepped up and funded the cost of that program from general fund money. Whenever we get a proposal for free or discounted use, we always cringe because it obviously conflicts with the ability to pay the bills. And when Representative Schultz came to me before the session started with this idea, I did my best to try to persuade him that that's fine. We're happy to support this effort, but you've got to back it up with general fund money, because otherwise we have to pass those costs on to other visitors, and I just don't think that's right. So super excited that one ended up working out. Representative Handy ran a bill to add another optional license plate. It's a dark sky license plate, and the proceeds from that, people that choose to participate in that option will go towards our efforts to promote dark skies and offer those programs in our park. So that one's cool. We had a new state monument created at Bridalveil Falls. Representative Stratton ran that bill. This one made us a little bit concerned because there is no funding allocated for our state monument sites. And the intention of the state monument sites was that they would either be standalone and have minimal to no costs, or have a partner to be able to cover any ongoing needs. And luckily with Bridalveil Falls, we have a great partner in Utah County. They're going to partner with us to take care of the day-to-day maintenance and management of that site. So there'll be more to come, but it's official now that one will be a state monument. Last one I wanted to mention was we asked Representative Handy to run a resolution to honor the Friends of Utah State Parks. Our Friends group decided that they'd accomplished the goals that they had originally set out to accomplish, and they have done so much for our state park system, and we wanted to find a way to recognize their efforts in fundraising and volunteerism. And we were able to get that resolution through the House Standing Committee and the Senate Standing Committees, but unfortunately, with all the chaos at the end of the session, they weren't able to actually get it all the way through the process. But still, we were able to give a nice shout out to our state parks friends, and that was cool. Any questions on legislative stuff before I move on to just other miscellaneous items?
Anything for Jeff? You're doing good. Keep on going.
Okay, so just for Claudia, I wanted to talk about the Division of Recreation and beat her to it, because I know she's going to have a question for you.
Bring it up.
There's been a couple changes, so I did want to just briefly mention that. Since we last talked, the last board meeting, there was a change in how the Division of Recreation handles their law enforcement responsibilities, and I believe Dave already mentioned that 7 of our law enforcement positions were transferred to that division. I'll tell you, there's a couple reasons why that happened. One was that when you have a law enforcement responsibility, there's nothing like having your own people to be able to help you accomplish that. The intent was that those 7 positions would tackle off state park program boating and off-highway vehicle responsibilities. And so it just makes it easier to get done what you want to get done and make sure that it's done the way that you want to do it. The other reason that I think is equally important is in being able to fill some of the higher level positions within that agency. The program managers are a great example. The off-highway vehicle program manager and boating program manager. If you're not a law enforcement agency, oftentimes the most qualified people for those positions came up in the law enforcement community under DNR. And if you're not a law enforcement, this is kind of complicated to explain, but if you're not a law enforcement division, the retirement program that public safety is on doesn't transfer into a non-law enforcement agency. So basically what that means is anybody that might consider those opportunities would have to convert from public safety to a public employee retirement system, which is a much longer system. So long story short, pretty much none of our law enforcement folks would even consider those opportunities. By giving the Division of Recreation a law enforcement program, they're able to honor those retirement plans. So anyway, it just helps them with recruiting. The other change that happened was the funding that we had previously used to pay for things like seasonal staffing, utilities, supplies at our state parks that had boating and off-highway vehicle responsibilities did get moved to Division of Recreation. So we're going to have to cover those costs with state park fees. I don't think we've done anything wrong in using program funding for those responsibilities, because those parks were offering those services, but now we have an administrator with a different view of how those funds should be used. So it's okay. We have the funding to use from our fees account to cover those responsibilities, and we'll make it work. I think I said it last time, but the off-highway vehicle and boating responsibilities at our park are going to remain the same as they've always been. A lot of our employees at our parks have been worried about losing those responsibilities because they're some of the more fun things of the job. And I just don't see that happening. We're going to be contracting with Division of Recreation to continue to offer that service. It makes sense that our state park law enforcement and non-law enforcement employees that are assigned to those areas do that work, because they can do it in the most efficient way and without having to hire more staff. So I don't see that changing. And I'll still say, even though I know Claudia will disagree, that there are a lot of good things that come with this change with Division of Recreation. I think that it's a great way to ensure that boating and off-highway vehicle funds are distributed equally and fairly all across the state, in and out of our state parks. And we're having to make some adjustments with that, but we're going to make it work. And the other thing that I like even more is now there's an agency that can tackle recreation needs that don't have a direct funding source through fees. So like trail systems, like some of the smaller recreation sites that I guess local governments have come to us and say, how about making Burston Ponds a state park? Well, Burston Ponds is an important recreational resource. Brent could tell this story better than I can.
Well, I don't mean it that way, but I was just there.
Yeah, it's an important recreational resource, but I don't think it draws enough people to be able to pay its own way with as a state park. But now we have an agency that can come up with funding to help local governments invest in that recreation site and others to be able to make things work. So anyway, there's definitely some positives. And as we work out the kinks, I think it's going to all work great. I just had a couple other miscellaneous things that I wanted to mention. And I can't remember if Dave or Scott mentioned them, but we do have a 3.5% salary increase coming up for state employees effective in July. That's very much needed and is going to help us with recruitment and retention. We also have an opportunity for our supervisory positions, which a good portion of our full-time staff is in a supervisory position, to get a 5% increase if they convert their position to an at-will position. So this discussion could open up a can of worms, but one of the things that happened in the legislature was I think it was Representative Christopherson ran a bill to encourage employees to switch from what we call a Schedule B employee to an at-will employee. And basically, the difference being is that there's more of a process to go through with, I don't know how to say it in a nice way, to fire an employee with Schedule B than obviously at will. This is kind of scary for employees to consider because it is true that when you're an at-will employee, you could lose your job at any time for any reason. But the fact of the matter is that the state of Utah and Division of Recreation or Division of State Parks is no different. We're not in the business of trying to get rid of employees. We're trying to attract employees and keep employees. And if you're doing a good job, if you're successful in your job and you're being productive and you're meeting the goals that you're given by your supervisor, there's no reason why the state is going to try to get rid of you. And sure as heck, not any reason why I'm going to try to fire someone that's doing their job. And 99.9% of our folks are there. And so the way I see this is, I think the writing on the wall is the state is moving towards an at-will situation for employees. And this is kind of the first step. And this is just Jeff talking, but I guess what I wanted to say is that we need to do better with employee salaries. And this is an opportunity for employees to get not only the 3.5% cost of living increase, but also another 5% on top of that to change to at-will status. Anyway, I'll move on from that. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to tackle them when we finish. We had passed a land exchange past you all, at least most of you, a few meetings ago that affected Wasatch Mountain State Park. We have a developer, the name of the company is Excel, that is developing a ski resort and condos and just a major development in Wasatch County, just above Jordanelle State Park. And it's adjacent to our property at Wasatch Mountain State Park. And a few meetings ago, we had talked to you about making a trade with them to trade land that they need for their development for land that we can use for recreational development on our end. I just wanted to let you know that there was a lot of hoops to jump through to get to the point where we could pull the trigger and make that happen. And it just was finalized this week. We transferred just over 500 acres to Excel for their needs. We got about 370 acres back in return. Now that sounds like kind of a raw deal, but when you're doing these transfers, this land is encumbered with Land and Water Conservation Fund money. The value of the land has to be equal. So we gave them property that we really can't use. It's too steep for us to develop for what we do with our state parks. But steep is good in the ski world, so they could use it on their end. So what we got was more usable property that we can develop into recreational opportunities. We actually also ended up with a cabin that we're going to be able to use for employee housing. And employee housing is so needed right now with cost of living so high and attracting and retaining employees. So just wanted to let you know that if you remember that discussion, it ended up getting finalized and happened, and we were able to cross that off the list. Goblin Valley land transfer was mentioned by someone earlier in the meeting. That land transfer will be official on June 17th. We're having a, I guess, deed signing ceremony out at Goblin Valley State Park on June 17th. And with that transfer, we're getting over 6,300 acres to add to our Goblin Valley State Park. Currently, Goblin Valley State Park is just over 3,000 acres, so this is going to make it 3 times as big. If you're familiar with that area that we're getting, it's on the other side of the reef from the Santa Fe swell, and just a tremendous recreational asset. It's currently being used for ATV trails and overflow camping, and we're going to be able to formalize a lot of that use that really hasn't been. There just hasn't been the resources to manage it the way it needs to be managed. So we're going to be adding restrooms and campsites and taking care of the land so that it can be enjoyed for future generations. We're super excited about that. This land that we're acquiring gets us all the way down to the trailhead at Little Wild Horse Canyon, which again, if you've been down there, is one of the major attractions. I would say really most of the people go down that road to either see Goblin Valley State Park or go hike the Little Wild Horse Canyon, or of course, take advantage of the Santa Fe swell too. There could be an opportunity for us to be able to take on management of that trailhead for Little Wild Horse Canyon with this transfer, and that would be huge for our park. So we're super excited about that. Last thing is we continue to get new state park ideas, proposals from legislators. You may have heard on the news, I know Channel 13 had a story about a new state park in the Ochre Mountains, so in Russ's backyard. I shouldn't admit this on a public meeting, but I guess I will. I learned about this proposal watching Channel 13. Ben Winslow announced a new state park in the Ochre Mountains, and I thought, I should know about this new state park. Well, it turns out it was mentioned as a discussion item during interim and will be discussed during legislative interim. I tracked down the representative who is behind the idea. It's Representative Collard out of Magna. She represents a lot of the Salt Lake Valley here. And she would like to add a new state park or a new recreation area somewhere in the Ochre Mountains. Now where is yet to be determined, but she's been talking with Rio Tinto, and we'll be meeting with them to talk about what they might have in mind. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Ochre Mountains, they are absolutely spectacular. They're beautiful. They're also in my backyard. I live in Tooele Valley, and it kills me that a lot of it is currently inaccessible because it's private property. This could open up an opportunity for us to add trail systems into there and more public access, and maybe even connect into some of the off-highway vehicle opportunities that already exist on the west side. So Russ, I'm thinking like Jacob City Loop, 5 Mile Pass area. I have a lot of ideas, but the devil's always in the details, and we'll be meeting with Rio Tinto to find out what they have in mind and how they see this working. But I'm actually really excited about this potential opportunity. That's all I had, and unless any of you have questions.
Jeff, a question for you. So is Tooele one of the few counties where we don't have a state park?
Yes, unfortunately, what she's aiming for is a state park on the Salt Lake Valley side, still in the Ochre Mountains. But yeah, we don't have one in Twilla County yet. Maybe we can make it span both counties. I believe that, Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Salt Lake Twilla County line runs right along the top of the Ochres. Yep, he's not in his head.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate the update, all the information, appreciate all you're doing and taking care of your wife. I'm sorry to hear about that. That's tough stuff.
Well, and just thank you to all of you for everything that you do. We really appreciate your help and support, and yell if you need anything or if you have any ideas.
So you guys are doing all the hard work, and we're glad to be a part of things and just to see what's going on. Any questions for Jeff?
Okay, I promise not to bring it up, but since it was in the packet, it was talked about a bifurcation of the Division of State Parks with Division of Recreation. So Jordan River OHV Park came back under the North Region. Isn't that totally an OHV? So can we get rid of a park and just give it to Division of Recreation since it's totally OHV? And why did that bifurcation and make it end up in a different location?
Can I ask you a question before we answer that question, Claudia?
No.
Why?
I'm just gonna back up a little bit.
Hold on. I'll back here by you. Why wouldn't we want to give away a park?
I just say it's OHV. It seems to me like if you're making this distinction of what the Division of Recreation is and the Division of State Parks, and I understand boating and trails is, if it's within a state park, then it's ours. But if it's not in a state park, it's Division of Recreation, I'm assuming. So that tends to be totally just OHV and the flight thing part too. That seems to be
Is the
a
Division of
totally,
Recreation more of a program management division rather than a on the ground kind of thing? Is that kind of what we're seeing?
Yeah.
so who operates if they develop a trail system then? So nobody operates it or manages it if it's outside of the park?
Typically what happens when when the Division of Recreation does something with the trail system, they're going to partner with another agency. So you may have heard about, in your former position, about grants that were available through the Office of Outdoor Recreation. The Office of Outdoor Recreation is now part of the Division of Recreation. And the purpose of really the Division of Recreation is to put money into areas of the state that don't produce a return. So that would be outside of state parks. And the OHV park is a state park. Yeah, it's tied primarily to OHV activities, but we also have day use facilities there. So people can come and have a picnic there. You might not, it might not be your park.
Won't be.
But some of us, Jeff and I love the smell of two-stroke engines and among many other things, but we love that park. It's a great place. It's a great experience. And personally, I don't think that the Division of Recreation's mission is to operate a facility where they collect money or they have a physical presence every day. Their mission is to go in and build something in cooperation with another entity or agency and then kind of walk away from it.
But they're enforcing it.
Well, on the program side, on the programmatic side, they are enforcing the rules and laws. But even in those programs, there's grants, big grant opportunities in the Building and OHV program, and that's what they're administering.
Okay, so why the word bifurcation? What force?
Bifurcation is the splitting of the two
But
divisions.
how come that impacted the Jordan River OHV? That's what I didn't understand.
Oh, yeah.
How did that whole
I didn't
thing?
read the wording as far as that goes. I don't know why that would have been in there. We always intended to keep the OHV part, so.
Okay. All right, just a question. And I promise on my solemn oath, I will not bring up this topic ever again in a board meeting.
Oh, boy.
In a board meeting.
In a board meeting.
Knock you off at the end. That's-
You have my solemn oath.
You should feel free to ask.
Any other questions for Jeff? All right, I think next on our agenda, we have a discussion on the state park strategic plan. I think in front of you have a 11 by 17 handout. This is something that we've mentioned in past board meetings and had a discussion. Let's go on here, Dave, talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the way this is. When we had these strategic plans printed, I guess in 2017, it was a living document. We didn't intend them to be around a long time. We didn't make a lot of formal, laminated copies. I think we only made 50 or 100 or whatever. Yeah, but here we are with this, and nobody could find a copy that could be printed like what the book that looks like. So,
All right.
so this is what we have, and that's a good thing because we need to update it. So it's a good segue into Jeff, Scott, and I have been talking about updating the strategic plan for at least the last 4 years, and I get reminders from park managers and region managers often that when are we going to do the strategic plan and the park planning process? So the original, I guess, intent when Fred Hayes was our director and we developed this strategic plan was to have a living document more than our past strategic plans, which were, kind of a closed book kind of thing. And that the goal of a living document strategic plan would be that it could be updated more easily and quickly. And some of this came about when, and this was in 2017. I can't remember when the first one was done. So this is one rendition of the living document. I think it was in 2015 or maybe earlier. But it was shortly after our legislative mandate changed from being kind of a government agency to being more like a business. And when you're a business, you have to be more easily, readily available to respond to conditions and that may occur that make you change what you're doing. And I failed to mention Shane Stroud and Susan Zaracarisi are been a part of getting this going, and they're online. So if any questions come up that I can't answer, if I get out in the weeds, don't feel afraid to step in and stop me. But anyway, that's our goal, is to begin the process of updating the strategic plan, and the Parks Board is a part of, we get our strategic plan approved by you, so we want to give you a heads up of what we're looking at and get your blessing and show you which way we're going, and as well get your input on the new strategic plan. So you can keep the copy that you've got. It's not fancy, you can write on it, scribble on it, and the rest of our staff will be getting, our leadership staff will be getting copies as well to do the same. So over the next couple months, we'll be soliciting input from the park staff, the Parks Board, and of course our leadership regarding the current strategic plan. That input will be used to update the mission, vision, values, and goals identified under the current strategic plan. And then the updated strategic plan will form the basis of the planning templates, which I'll get into in a minute, and guidelines for the parks to use going forward. So this didn't make it into the board pack, but I'll pass it around. This is kind of a draft proposal of what I would envision our planning process to look like. And like I said, this is a draft and still being worked on, but it's kind of incorporates, if you have a living document, you do kind of incorporate what you're already doing. We really haven't had, we've got a lot of park plans that are called different things. There's general management plans, there's resource management plans, there's business management plans. We've had all kinds of plans out there, looking kind of to incorporate all that into the processes that we're already doing. We haven't had, really firm, except for some parks, park plans that we've been, cracking the book and opening over the last years that we've been operating like a business. We've been a lot more flexible. We want to get that process that we're doing down and official. But anyway, if we start over here on the right with the number 1, the division sets direction. And that's having a strategic plan, establishing mission, vision, goals, with the board approval for that, and then moving around the circle, you have and a lot of this planning process will be driven by the parks. The park manager will be responsible for driving the planning process in accordance with the template that will be developed and with general guidelines. So they'll take the strategic plan, they'll come up with their program goals and objectives, which we're already doing. And then they'll go on to 3 and they'll create strategies to meet their goals and objectives. And that'll develop into their management plans, and the board would need to review those as well, the individual park management plans. And then back up at 5, evaluate and monitor on an annual basis those plans. You have a living document. Then every 3rd year, or I guess it could happen more soon, if not, it would get kicked over to Parks Administration, the board again, and say, hey, we've had a couple years of this, so we need to change anything in our overall. Like say the legislature goes back the other way and says, no, we don't want you to charge anything at your parks, we want it free to everybody. We're just gonna give you $100 million a year in operating costs. Well, then that's gonna probably change some things in our goals and objectives and our direction. So that's why we would look at that in several years as an agency. But other than that, the annual process would just go around this 2 through 5 on an annual basis. And a lot of those things we're already doing, through park management reviews, park manager reviews, are making sure they're working towards their goals, or region managers are doing that. There's local leadership meetings, the Association of Governments. There's different things where we're getting input from folks, the DMOs, everybody, we're getting that input. Our parks are already doing all that stuff. They're getting public input. They're taking surveys in their parks. They're doing all those things. This is incorporated all together kind of into this, living document strategic plan, but follow it through with a living document. And I don't even know what we call it. It's general business resource management plan. It could be called a variety of things. We need to come up with a good too, I guess.
Yeah, we're just getting some questions from people online if they could get a copy of this. Their way if they haven't already.
I don't see why not. Okay. It's a draft.
So you just hold it up the camera, is that what you're saying?
And then part of this process will be the updated strategic plan and updated planning process will take into account older planning processes to ensure previously identified priorities and concerns are addressed. We have major management plans like the Antelope Island, which specifically address certain heritage resources. Or somebody mentioned yesterday in one of the tours on one of the maps that said, what was that term? Heritage resource don't disturb, or something on one of the maps. Somebody asked the question, what does that mean? Well, in our parks, we have areas like that that might have been identified in a previous management plan, but we're just not going to abandon that. That will be incorporated in this new process. Whoops, that's not good for the screen to go black. I already mentioned that, for those units that have undergone extensive planning, new planning template will examine current planning documents and will identify how the updated planning process addresses and improves upon recommendations, considerations, and processes the older planning documents identified. And then the goal of the whole thing is the updated planning process will offer more nimble, individualized planning that is better fits within the division's mission and vision. The new planning process anticipates changes will be aligned with division-wide strategic plan. Aligning division-wide planning processes with the strategic plan will allow the division to implement similar planning processes across individual park units, which in turn will make the planning process and implementation more effective. So that's kind of a general overview of where we want to go and what we want to do. If I have a brief timeline, just a draft timeline on how we'd like to lay this out. If you don't have any questions on any of this, but if you have questions on this, please let me know.
I just think, not that we're bringing that up again, but now that we're just the division of parks, like it's going to be kind of a big undertaking to redo that and take that out and,
I think on the cover copy, I think it says and recreation twice.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's going to take a bit to get that all updated, but I think you've got a great plan. So it looks like, you're going to be able to move forward through that, and it'll be nice. I remember when this was created and it was helpful as a newer board member to know, where the division was headed, so.
Any other questions? I just talked about the timelines. Okay. This board meeting, introduce you to the subject, get your blessing. I don't know if it's official, you have to vote, and it's an action item on here, so deal with it as you feel you need to, but we just wanted to get your blessing, let you know where we're going. We have, during the rest of May and part of June, we'll be getting input from our core leadership, which is the region managers, Jeff Scott, and our chief of law enforcement, and of course, all their constituents, the park region manager, when I send them something, they ship it out to their park managers, and they get all that input. So we'll be working on that. In June, we have a core leadership meeting, and a big part of that meeting will be to start drafting out the strategic plan from the input that we received. And then hopefully the goal would be for the August board meeting that we can get the strategic plan approved, the updated version of the living document. So that's our goal there. And then spring, well, through August, after that, we're also gonna be working on a planning template. Each part will have a template. It might not all look the same, but it'll be a basic template of the things that they need, the goals that come out of the strategic plan that they need to flesh out in their plan for their park. So and Susan's there at Greasy. She's very, very good at that. She's already showed me a couple kind of renditions of what other agencies have done. There's web-based versions where be all pretty with, pictures and stuff. And and if we can do it both ways, or some managers aren't comfortable digitally, they can do it hard copy paper. So we're still working through all that, but there will be a basic template that keeps all the parks on par and moving in the right direction. And we hope to have that fleshed out at least by August as well. And then after August through the fall of 2023, so another year and a half or so, the parks are working on their plan, getting their input, talking to their stakeholders and partners. And we have some big partners like the water districts and the BOR, which we don't even own the property. So of course, our plan has to fit their plan. So or mesh with their plan. So hopefully by the spring of 2024, we're bringing back the park plans piecemeal to the board for review and approval. And maybe some parks, my first vision was we'll have all the small parks like a Hiram. That's going to be a fairly easy one compared with the Jordanelle. Maybe a group of the smaller ones are done, but we'll take those as they come, but maybe a big park and 5 small parks are done. So we'll take them as they come and try to get them to you. So you're not overwhelmed in one board meeting, but maybe in a year's worth of board meetings with the smaller parks that are easier to complete first, and then moving through that timeline. That's kind of the vision of how this would play out.
That sounds really good. I think it's good to have a vision, but also be nimble on our feet. And you see our parks have to make decisions every day with how to manage things. You saw COVID and what it did with bringing in people from out of state and changes in day use versus overnight. Just on the news this morning, I saw with the fires in New Mexico, the Santa Fe National Forest is shutting down and not allowing visitors. And I think there's always going to be changes. You're going to be pushing people into our state and different things to where we've got to be able to adapt, and our park managers do a great job. So I guess at this point, any other questions for Dave on this? If not, I think it'd be good for us to have a simple board action just to approve Dave and the vision moving forward in concept to pursuing this. There's a suggested motion in our handouts. If anybody would like to make that motion, I think that'd be appropriate.
I'll make a motion to support the division of Utah State Parks in the concept to create a statewide parks and strategic plan.
All right, I've got a motion from Alicia, a second. Anyone?
I'll second.
No competition here.
Joan.
Joan, okay.
Gosh.
Second from Joan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passed. Thank you, Dave. We'll look forward to working with you on that. And I guess you've already got a team together, your planning team.
Right, well, we have kind of the staffing commitments. I'll just kind of oversee the project and be our core leadership facilitator on it. Susan Zaragreezy, who's online, she'll be our project manager and technical advisor. And then Shane, our legal counsel, he'll be our legal advisor. Then the core leadership team, which is Jeff Scott and I, 3 region managers, and Eric's would be the chief of law enforcement. We'll gather input from staff towards the strategic plan, so, and kind of bring the process along. And of course, Melanie, our administrative assistant, I'm sure will be actively making sure our proofreading and documents are all looking good and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of our, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah.
But that's kind of our core group that will be working on this.
But it sounds like if anybody has any comments or suggestions, mark this up, get it back to Dave. Thoughts or suggestions would be welcome.
That would be great. We welcome all your input.
Sounds great, thank you. And then Dave, let's continue with you with looking at the administrative rule change regarding veterans. And I think that was prompted by our legislative action, right?
Yeah, Jeff,
Talk about.
did that really good. So, yeah, I thought a couple of weeks ago when Amber mentioned to me, oh, I'm glad you have things on the board meeting for action. It just went over my head. I wasn't thinking, but then I've been so busy I haven't watched. And last night I started looking at the agenda and go, oh, I'm the only thing on there, other than what's the next board meeting. But anyway, thanks for your patience. Yes, as Jeff explained, there was a bill, House Bill 155, went to the legislature this year that changed the requirements for those folks that disabled veterans for the honors pass, and it went from 50% to any percent. So basically, we had a rule that mirrored the last legislative change, so we needed to change our rule. So that's the main change. If you look, I think it's in red on yours, but under definitions, the red part where it says a current service-connected disability, and it took out the 50%, just said any current service-connected disability. And it's issued by the United States Veteran Benefits Administration.
So they have identification or something where that's a pretty black and white designation.
Annually, they get it updated. Some people's, disability might get worse or might get better over time. So they get an updated evaluation each year, and they bring that document in.
So it's easy for us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think the only other change is at the bottom. We further clarified where the honors path doesn't work, or what I guess activities and services it doesn't provide. Like they can't go into a park and get a free boat rental because they have an honors pass. It just gets them into the park. It doesn't cover the other stuff.
They can't camp for free down here too.
Correct. It's just a day use.
Any other questions for Dave?
So do they get that at the parks then?
Down at the bottom, we have online which parks. I think there's a couple parks that don't have them, but
Yeah, locations like Paiute State Park, White Park, this place, they don't administer them outward. You can get them at our region offices or at those, and that list is online.
That's a great question, Lisa. We're also moving the annual pass purchasing online to Parks Pass. So the students actually are fulfilling those. And we're looking at doing the same thing with the Honors Pass. We just need to figure out a way to verify the documents that come in. And with artificial intelligence and other things, we'll be able to do that, so.
Cool.
Devon's, well, I don't know if you were Lindsay, but they redesigned the Parks Pass. I don't know if you've seen the old one.
I brought one.
Oh,
I
you
actually
got
got
one.
both of them,
That would be
just in
great.
case you wanted to see the open there. But also, it's worth mentioning that 0% disability does not mean no disability. So this does not mean does not mean that all veterans get these park passes. The 0% disability does not mean no disability. So that's just a distinction that the Veterans Administration makes. So the blue one is the old one, and the not blue one is the new one for 2022.
They look really cool, so.
Yeah, also cool.
Is that your disability?
Is that your disability?
Yeah.
Zero disability. Any other questions for Dave? All right, I'd accept the motion for approving these amendments as presented.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the amendments.
Okay. Got a motion from, any second?
I'll second.
Natalie, second from Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right. That's the agenda. Gosh, how we doing on time? We're pretty good. All right. Oh, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. Next on the agenda is looking at our, any other business that people would like to bring up? I guess one thing that I've kind of heard a little bit about is just our website. With, just as we're changing and keeping up with things, is to make sure our website reflects the latest and greatest and is navigable and has the information that people are looking for. Anyway, if you're navigating the website or looking at things, pass on information and I appreciate that. One thing that Devin asked me about was the areas that we represent as members of the board. It's a judicial district, right? And so it's not always kind of a logical thing for even us or the public to know the areas that we represent. And so we might take a look at putting a map on there that would show the areas that we represent in the state.
I think that's loaded.
Is it on there now?
You added.
I believe we emailed it to you. Someone put it on.
It's on the website, because I
Maybe
just.
someone already did it. I
Natalie's
was
on
asked
top.
before I did it, but maybe someone already beat me.
No, I noticed it on the site.
You should really take credit for that.
Yeah.
I did it already.
Just
Okay. So let me read this.
I think there it is.
Okay.
Someone beat me to it.
Okay.
Looks like we need an update because it's still the state boards of Parks and Recreation on the website.
Yeah.
Melanie, can you tell us what our next meeting date is? When is? Do you have that?
Well.
Does anybody have that handy?
August?
Deer, I know it said I was at Deer Creek, so I'm gonna have to look and see if I can see it on my calendar. It's August 18th.
Hey, Corey, I on my calendar, I show it as August 18th is what we had tentatively put.
That's what I have.
Okay.
August 15th is.
18th.
Yeah, I can't verify that, not on mine, but.
Well, I have on mine too.
Yeah, that's what I'm on.
Actually, I should the 19th, but the 18th makes more sense. So and that was at Deer Creek?
That's what I showed, that Deer Creek was nice and Moab was nice, but.
Yeah, because I think in August we were gonna do the zip line and. Right?
Whose area is that?
Oh, let's check it
E.
Okay.
That's
Jurisdiction.
what the map came about.
Is that
Yeah,
you and
that's
Megan?
how it
No, you and Lori.
Lori, yeah.
Can you get with Lori and do some planning and see what you can figure out for us?
Sure. August, a long time away.
Sounds like it'll be here fast.
We can wait till August 15th and we'll start planning.
Okay. Lori will be, that Lori's not. gonna let that happen.
Lori's not gonna let that
Yeah.
happen. She's gonna call you on your drive
You
home.
can try.
I'm
That's
just
not-
kidding. Plan right now.
Hear that, Lori?
Yes, I hear it. So we need room for how many? It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Brent will love to talk to you about that. in
Like
great
12
detail.
people.
Yep.
Yeah, I think about that.
9 No, I just added it.
Will we do like the 2 days again? I'm just trying to block my calendar off. So like, should I block Wednesday afternoon and Thursday or
That's
just?
essentially what we do.
Yeah, with kind of our meeting date, but then it's kind of some optional get together time like this. So it'd be kind of a 17th and 18th, with the meeting on the 18th and some stuff the evening of the 17th. Is that the way we would approach this?
I think so.
Okay. And then let's jump to our fourth quarter meeting. We're looking at Moab. Jeff, do you have a date handy for that one?
So you're asking about the fourth quarter?
Yes.
Yeah, we can just get to it.
That's November 17th
Yeah, I had the 17th.
in Moab.
I mean, a field trip to San Juan County would be great. I'm just kidding.
How many people have been to Gooseneck?
Goosenecks,
Yeah, last time we did both of those together, it was awesome.
Edge of the Cedar?
Edge of the Cedars and Goosenecks. New site.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're probably
Mine
gonna
now
need
says
2
Raptor.
full days.
Utah Raptor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 full days probably.
Maybe we can stay here.
Bring hard hats. Mountain bikes.
Like the e-bike?
That trail's
Always
a
good.
big one in the state. Like that horse. I just love it.
Okay,
So we decided on a 7.
the 7th is our main date, but I'm assuming it's gonna be another 2-day, right?
I don't know how many, do many of us go to Utah Association of Counties?
Yeah, did they put out their dates? Is that when that is?
That's what I had down. I don't know if that's the
Oh.
most recent.
Did you guys look
I
and see?
didn't, I thought we double checked that.
I thought we
did
checked
too.
it before and it was gonna be the 7th, 8th and 9th.
That's what I have on my calendar, but maybe they've adjusted it.
Would make good work rooms.
Yeah. And they're on the other side of the state.
Yeah.
in St. George.
With like 500 people.
Maybe the election days,
Oh,
I don't know if,
let me bump on their calendar.
yeah, look on their calendar.
US not that great at having their calendar updated, I found.
No,
Yeah, they're not.
I think it says November 14th to 18th.
yeah, it does.
Shoot. Could we go the week before, like the 9th and the 10th?
The 11th is Veterans Day, 9th and 10th.
You could make it a long weekend and stay in Moab or San Juan County, I mean.
I'll be able-
San Juan County.
Uh-huh.
How that works.
How's the 9th and 10th work for people?
In November.
Russ and Kevin, chime in. Get a thumbs up. Russ has got a thumb up his nose.
I hate to cause a problem, but I'm going to be out of state that week. I think Scott might be too.
So we're missing Jeff and Scott those days.
We might be going to the same area that week.
How about a week earlier, the 2nd and the 3rd?
Yeah.
I'm good that week.
I'm out, but I can,
I'm out of town.
I've got the special district conference.
Now, are we talking August or November? Maybe I need to clarify.
That was,
November?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the wrong month.
so we were looking at the 9th and 10th of November.
I think you said the
He's-
17th, or was it the 9th?
But the
Yeah,
17th
9th and 10th.
Okay, 9th.
9th and 10th of November.
I am good that week. Sorry, I thought you were talking about August.
So we got around UAC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking at 9th and 10th of November.
Are you okay? Are you good?
I'm good.
It's your region again.
Okay, let's head that direction.
Actually having
And
it.
then, just as, while we're looking at this, can everybody pull up this, strategic plan and look at the, this map here? This is just a really fun thing to look at. And Scott's promised us a t-shirt one of these days. It's gonna have kind of a thing like this on it. Kind of like that, right?
Well, yeah, someone was supposed to, before she retired, was supposed to send me your sizes.
Yeah,
So can you send all of your shirt sizes to Melanie?
okay. But before you leave, make sure, yeah,
Yeah, I have 2 different really neat t-shirts for all of you.
we need those.
I
I
just need
thought we
your,
did that at the last
I think we
meeting.
wrote them
That was
down in
Andrew.
our last meeting.
There's a piece of paper somewhere
Yeah.
Sure, everyone just write it on.
But there's nail sizes, so there's one that's like a unisex size.
Unless you want to send
Yeah.
it.
Oh, so there's all,
They do run a little bit small.
Oh, wasn't it like a lot of it?
Yeah, we like.
I
Yeah.
remember it.
I'm trying to be delicate about that, but yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
actually,
actually-
And we like picked which ones we wanted.
yeah, the color.
So don't be offended if I upsize you by one size.
Please,
To whatever, from whatever.
Take care of us.
And it's all, I think it's
Yeah.
okay, we can put down what we are.
So the other thing I was gonna say is, look at this map as we talk about edges, cedars, and, we're just gonna put down here in this bottom corner of the county that we don't wanna forget them, and there's some cool things. Other state parks that you've never been to, that you'd like to see maybe as a group. Let's be thinking about that, right? And, in your travels, try to stop in these places, look for opportunities to stay there, to go recreate. But then if there's places that you'd like to go as a board, let's see if there's opportunities to see some things. Any initial thoughts?
But I always like there's a little clustered Escalante, Kodachrome, and Anasazi, and it's
Yeah.
kind of out of the way. You gotta go there to get there. You can't, stop in when you're driving up I-15 or I-7.
So that's a good spring, fall, winter.
Fall is really nice.
Yeah,
Fall's really nice.
Schofield could be
Okay.
anywhere.
winter is a little tough there, but
Yeah.
fall would be.
Like it's right there.
Yeah, let's kind of pencil some of that in. I like that one.
And it spans 2 regions, so you're.
Well, we dealt with Scott and Claudia today. We can have that year running. No? I'll keep an eye on it.
I've made an oath, remember?
All right. Are there any other comments or business we need to conduct?
Lori, raise the hand.
Do you have a hand raised, Lori?
Yeah, I'm been kind of working on putting a map together that has not only just your guys' names and your areas of that you cover, but your photo that I can send out to the park managers just so that, they can put a face to the names. And I just need, and I can either have Devin, if Devin wants to take this on, or Melanie, but otherwise I can do it. But I pillaged photos for Alicia from I think her chamber site. I've got Lisa, Alicia, Natalie's, those, and even Jones. I think Jones' quality, I could get a better quality photo, but all those are really good photos. Corey's is really good, but everybody else's I would need a nice headshot.
In the foyer of our last.
I did it with Tammy's photo to get badges.
I got it.
Lori, this is a good idea, actually. You're putting together the map, you said?
Well, you already have the map. I already have a PDF of the map with the names. We just need to plug the photos in, and I've plugged in most of the people, but I don't have good photos of the other ones.
This might not be a bad idea to have next to each of your names on the website as well. Could you all email me and Melanie both your favorite headshot? And Lori, could you send me the ones you pillaged in case some people forget?
So Gloria has ours, we don't need to send it.
Send me your favorite one and we'll see which one.
Well, and just because I stole it from the website, so it's probably not high quality. When I stole them from LinkedIn or whatever. So just send a high quality one.
I'm just gonna forward this one that I sent to someone else.
Okay.
So would you like it out of state park?
My email is D as in Delta, CHAV as in Victor, EZ. dchavez@utah.gov. And then Melanie, what's yours?
Mine is Melanie M. Shepherd, MELANIEM, and then Shepherd, SHE.
Is there like any, it's just.
She sent us
an email this morning.
PHERD@utah.gov. Yeah, I shared a Google Doc, so it might come up with that.
We're doing something similar with Dave and Scott. As I can get their balance.
Did you check to see if we have availability of that app you were talking about yesterday that lists? I asked Devin and he said, Devin, you said ping board that they don't.
I don't believe that they're on our ping board list, no.
Okay, I guess it's just you.
state, parks employees. But he did say that, where did you say that they could look for that would be updated, Devin, for all the managers and everything? Are they able to access something?
Oh, well, each of the individual website has the park manager listed on it too.
Okay, but that would have to go through, they'd have to look in each one.
Yeah,
They don't have
they
one.
would, but maybe when we send out this thing, we can just include it all in there. Park managers change quite often, especially lately as well.
Yeah.
Megan likes to see.
It is nice when we're going around to the parks though, to know like
Yeah.
who we're asking for, you know. Greet them with our, you know, their name or whatever. So if there is some list, we can.
And I think they, like, when I go around and talk to the manager, the ranger, or the rangers, they really like that part. I think we see the parks a lot, but we don't always stop and talk to leadership, and they really,
They like.
I can say, I say, obviously, I'm just nobody that important, but what are you working on, what's going good, and they really seem to appreciate it.
That would be good to send out the space thing with each park to our DPR as well. Just to kind of make it work.
And then if you could create like when you send that out and then there's some way for us to like, I don't know, we can check it off as we've like visited all of them. Cause like Corey said, his goal in the next 4 years is to get to every single park. And like, maybe we have that as.
You just take your
Parks
list and
pass?
put check.
Can you put it in the?
Yeah, we use
parks?
passports.
It's a
Got
t-shirt.
We used to have that.
I'm
We used to have
just
that.
gonna take a Sharpie.
You could probably make a personalized thing for you guys that has your parks, like, let's say, Red or whoever, and then each of your parks.
There you go.
That's right. That wouldn't be difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like go around so we can see.
Who wins? first
We could have
prize.
a contest and every year at the last board meeting, we see who checked out the most. State parks that year.
Public shaming or awards.
I think that would be it.
I think I'm very competitive, so let's go.
If we do awards.
I think that would be
Throwing
a,
down the gauntlet.
So is
Yeah.
Natalie, so.
I think that'd be a fun contest for the public, how many state parks that can touch in a day. how many
They used to
take
have
time.
passport all the time. I have that.
Yeah, but even just to do a day,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say,
Okay, what state park you'd be for sure, you get around.
That's cool.
but I think that'd be fun to see how many you can walk up, touch the sign, take a picture, jump the car, start at 12:01 a.m. and
Although.
11:15 p.m.
Well, yeah, get around the state.
You'll touch it.
Take a picture.
Right? But we do want to do more, but just for publicity of it, you know, well, that's true too. That's true too.
It's.
I know, we're going to go in there and play that. It would be a fun publicity.
This is what's on the website.
To be on the news.
Yeah.
It's on the-
So that's.
Yes.
It would be cool for actually the public, like forget us for a minute, but if in the app it had like all the state parks and you could check them off along the way.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's.
Don't even worry about my questions.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen, like the national park has a scratch off thing,
Yeah.
but it would be similar to that. And then it also has a geo event around the park, so it would automatically
Okay.
update that, oh yeah, Lisa went to Pennsylvania State Park.
Gotcha.
She was there, check. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's cool. Don't use the existing, I would not recommend the. It was by someone else had it and it's turned into a separate thing, but I'm trying to get it turned off.
Gotcha. Gotta keep it 7 years, Mike, you're interested.
Way to pay attention
I think it's older than that.
Okay, so the way our agenda is set up, we have action listed for adjournment and tour of the Fieldhouse and Museum. So are we going to recess after lunch or can we do that now?
You want to tour the museum now?
No, I was going to say is just to, I was looking for a motion to adjourn our meeting and to do that now instead of after lunch and speak of it. All right. Do we have any other business to take care of? So what I'm saying is I'd accept a motion to adjourn and then we'd have lunch and then tour the field house after our meeting. Does that work?
I'll make that motion. That's what you're.
That's what I'm looking at. We've got a motion to adjourn from Natalie. Have a second.
I'll second it.
Second.
Awesome.
Okay,
So you adjourned it.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank
We
you.
all-
Thank you, those online and all your support. Appreciate everything.
Okay, I